Alright, so let's count down the top 5 ways to improve your game right now. Now, I know in the past that a lot of my tips have been things that require a lot of time to master, but these are things that you can do right now.
Insufficient funds.
Number 5. Let's talk about Control Shift, which is known as Attack 2 for the hotkeys. Basically what it allows you to do is it replaces the normal movement controls. So when you have your tanks selected, for example, and you just click for them to move to a certain point on the map, it changes it to Attack to a certain point on the map. And what that means is if it encounters an enemy, it's going to stop and attack it instead of moving right by it. So that's really advantageous for dogs. If your dog runs by an engineer, if you just normally click it, it's not going to stop to kill it. If you use Attack 2, it's going to stop and try and kill that engineer. Also for tanks, it's really good because the tanks will stop and attack other tanks on the way. But it's not that easy because you need to mix in a little bit of normal clicking with the Attack 2 clicking to perfect the strategy. 4. This is one I've harped about before. You need to make sure that you scout. It's very important that you see what's going on around you. It's actually going to help you learn the maps better if you don't know them very well. And you can see what's coming at you a lot better. So at the beginning of the game, you're going to want to build 2 to 3 dogs because they move pretty quick. And send them around across the map. And definitely send them to where you think the enemy's base is. And you don't want to send them, especially if you're playing a Soviet player, you don't really want to send them to where the miners are going to be. You want to kind of go around that area and make sure that you can keep the dog alive if you can to uncover the points of interest. And I built like 10 dogs in this video just for dramatic effect. Don't do that. 3. So this is kind of a tricky one. This is offense versus defense, and what I'm talking about is building stationary defenses, so things that don't move, versus just pumping out tanks or certain infantry that can move around. And so a huge disadvantage if you just place a sentry gun, for example, on one side of your base, is any decent player is just going to go around it. So if there's more than one way to access your base, or access a satellite base of yours, they're just going to go around it and you've wasted your money. So really the only time you should be building base defenses is if the enemy is right on top of you. So I did that in my How to Defend a Rush video. Or if there's a point where you know your enemy has to go through in order to get to a very important part of your base. So here's an example where in order to get to the oil derricks the quickest, the most inconspicuous way, they have to cross over this bridge. So it would be a good idea to put up a base defense right here. Number 2, having fodder is really important because it's going to dilute the units that you absolutely have to have in order to win, so your tanks, with units that you don't need at all. So a bunch of dogs isn't going to do any good against a bunch of tanks, but if your enemy's tanks attack those dogs instead of your tanks, that's huge. So the whole point of fodder is to move focus from the units that you need in order to win to the units that don't mean shit. And the best fodder of all is your ore miners. Your ore miners, for whatever reason, are always attacked by the enemy if they get close enough. So if you're really desperate, let's say that in your game you're completely out of ore, your miners are just sitting around doing nothing, use them as fodder and you'll be surprised how much damage they soak up. Before we get to number 1, I just wanted to let you guys know that I just uploaded a wedding video that I made. It's the first time I've ever made like a real life video, and I made it using my iPhone as a wedding gift to my friends. So I really hope you guys check it out. I'm going to put the link in the description down below, and I'm also going to put the link at the end of this video. Maybe say something nice for the bride and groom and leave a like. Thanks guys. So the number 1 most important thing you can do right now to improve your game is to use the hotkeys N, D, and Q. So what are those? When you're playing a real game, and what I mean to say is when you have 0 units to start, just your MCV, N is going to select your MCV for you, so you don't have to click it. D is deploy, so it'll deploy it for you without having to double click it. And then Q is the hotkey that you're going to want to use in order to automatically place your buildings. So once you click, for example, your power supply, once it's done building, you can have your mouse on the map where you're going to place it, and when you press Q, it automatically selects it and moves it to wherever your mouse is. That way you don't have a delay between clicking and then, moving your mouse and then placing it another click onto the map. It does it automatically for you. So I just wanted to show you guys a comparison of starting the game using your mouse to click or using the keyboard hotkeys. Check it out.
New construction options. Building. Construction complete.
Yes,
New
master.
construction options. Building. Construction complete.
Alright, so as you can tell, that's a huge difference. And if you don't think so, imagine that over the whole game, right? So clicking versus using Q for the whole game of building, that adds up, and that's a lot of time that you could have saved had you been using the hotkeys. So bottom line is use the hotkeys, because the most important thing in this game for a new player is your build speed. How fast can you get up and running and have your offense or defense ready to go? So I hope this was helpful. I hope you'll subscribe to the channel and check out all the fun projects that I'm working on. And we'll see you next time. Peace!